Hey, hey, what's happening? How's everybody doing today? We have, like only a couple more weeks of February. Does anybody else feel like it is just flying by? I mean, I know that's more than a couple weeks, but it just feels like before we know it, it's going to be the end of February. Today, we are talking about the thyroid. And I know it may not seem like a sexy subject. Hey, Carrie, it's good to see you. But it's something that a lot of people struggle with and have difficulties. And so I really want to come in today and kind of talk about the thyroid. Good morning, Carrie. To talk about the thyroid, and then I'm going to tell you some things that are pretty surprising. And we're going to maybe probably do about 2 weeks on the thyroid, maybe 3, because so many people. So you should share this out and tell people to come and join, because what people don't realize is that, while they think it's just a hormonal or endocrine system related issue, as I tell you guys, all things are tied back to the gut. All right, so I'm not gonna hold you long. I like to give it to you in bite-sized pieces. But there are 2 things. I want to first tell you where the thyroid is. A lot of people may not even know, but it's like a butterfly, like right here in the body. And then the pituitary gland is basically, if I could take my finger and stick it right back there and go through and touch my brain, it's at the base of the brain. The pituitary gland and the thyroid talk to each other. Okay, so basically the pituitary gland is actually the gland that that sends what we call the TSH hormone to the thing, and it's called thyroxine. All right, so that's all scientific and all that kind of stuff, but I just want to give you the understanding of what that is. Hey, Melissa, good to see you. So just understand that you've got the thyroid, which is right here. Pituitary gland sits right back between the base of the brain, and they talk to each other. So if you have hypo with an O, thyroidism, that is basically where you have an underactive thyroid. All right, so it is not, the hormones are not producing what they need to. If you have hyper, that means that it's overactive, and they have different issues that are associated with it. So some people don't even realize that they have something going on with their thyroid, especially if they haven't had it tested. All right, so you can have with hypo, you can have fatigue, mood disorders like depression. People don't realize that. You can have hair loss, weight loss, constipation, cracked skin, goiters. So goiters are where all of a sudden you'll see the thyroid, you'll see it come out. It'll be like a bump right here. Hey, Cindy, so good to see you. All right, so that's hypo. And there are other things associated with it, but I kind of gave you some of the most common. Then you can also have hives. Some people don't realize that. They're like, oh my gosh, I've got like chronic hives. I don't know why I'm itching all the time, and I get these red whelps that come on and off, and that could be an indication that you've got something going on with your thyroid. If you've got weight that you're like, I don't know why I'm gaining this weight, I'm not really doing anything differently, you might want to have your levels tested, your T4, T3 levels. So that's tested to figure out what's going on. Cracked skin, where you're like, I'm not doing anything differently. I'm not in any kind of climate that's weird. Those are things you may want to look at. So now hyper, which most women and even men will deal more with hypo than hyper. But if you have hyper, you can have things like weight loss, hair thinning or loss as well, anxiety. So instead of depression on the other side where it's down, you can have more of that hyper feeling, like, you're kind of anxious. Excessive sweating, racing heartbeat, more bowel movements, whereas the other one causes constipation. So it's almost like a flip of what's going on, and itchy skin. So, hives as well, that kind of thing. But both of them, especially when it goes into the Hashimoto's disease, that's when you have hypothyroidism to a disease state, is where you get that. All right, so now that I've kind of given you the basis of what these 2 are and a little bit of the differences between them, I want to make sure that you understand that you have the thyroid stimulating hormone called TSH, all right? And that's the one that I was telling you about that makes the thyroid that produce the thyroxine. All right, I just want to make sure I was saying all those words right for you. So the 9 causes, a lot of times we say, of hypo, so we're going to be talking this week about hypothyroidism, is inflammation disorders. And we all deal with inflammation. And inflammation usually comes from either external factors around us or pollution and things like that in the air, toxins that we get from bleach and ammonia and all of that kind of stuff. So Carrie, okay, Graves since 17. Wow. All right, so you're well versed on this, and we're gonna be talking about a few things that might be interesting to you, probably more next week. So just want to give you an understanding of that. So the 9 causes of hypothyroidism is inflammatory disorders, poor diet. Okay, so and inflammatory disorders can also come from a poor diet. So if you're eating things, especially high in sugar, processed foods, things like that, it will cause internal inflammation that can create that. Also, hormone imbalances. Sometimes we just have things like that are happening, and a lot of times it actually comes from food. We don't realize that is that surprising piece of what's going on in our gut, in our dysbiosis in the gut. Gut inflammation, surprise, surprise. So those are things like leaky gut syndrome, where you may have, perforation in the gut lining that allows food to travel into the bloodstream, which then causes an autoimmune response, which then triggers all kinds of other bells and whistles to go off. Hey, Chris, I know this is one of your favorite subjects. We're talking about the hormones, so we're going to be talking together. So this is a good one. So we have gut inflammation, genetics, all right? So sometimes we'll have some kids that are predisposed to certain things. One of the things Carrie was saying that she had it since she was 17. So if I would have known then what I know now, yes, you would have done things very differently. Exactly. The things that we don't realize as far as diet. We're going to talk about all of those things, not this week, but next week. But I just wanted to give people kind of a basis. We're not going to go into deep and wide school hormone based stuff, but I want to make sure that everybody has a good understanding. So when we start talking about some other things, it makes sense. So genetics. Pregnancy. So women sometimes can their bodies and hormones can be thrown into a particular state through pregnancy. Interactions with certain medications. So sometimes people will take, and I have a friend who's a pharmacist, and she says, show me a drug or a medication that doesn't have a side effect, and I'll show you something that it doesn't exist. So every time we take a pharmaceutical, there's usually a side effect to our body. So we need to be careful about how much we're doing that and using things that are outside of nature. And then high levels of emotional stress. So going through something like a death in a family or a very traumatic experience to your body or your mental state can create changes in that hormone level. Even when I wrote the book, my hormones were a bit off because I took I do testing through a company called Balanced Health, and they're really great. And I enjoy getting an opportunity to use my saliva and my hair to see what's really going on in my body. And you can see levels before. A lot of times you'll see things show up on tests, because a lot of times when we go to the doctor, they're looking for red flags like ding, 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 we're in a disease state. I'm trying to figure out what's going on in my body before it gets to the disease state. So like Carrie said, I can do things differently so I don't get to the disease state. So taking those tests, if you have any questions or want to know about it, let me know and I'll send you a link and everything, and you can get a test done, because it's one of those things they can send to you, and you and I can talk through it if you want to. So basically understanding those levels are really important. So when I saw my test come back and I saw that, that not necessarily under major stress, but my thyroid had some stuff going on, I was like, okay, well, what can I do to support it? And so taking things down within my own lifestyle and everything was helpful. And we'll talk about some ways to support later. But this is what I wanted you guys to all hear. T4 is the inactive thyroid hormone. Okay, guys? So it has to be converted to T3, which is the active thyroid hormone. All right, so inactive, active. So for those, I'm kind of nerding out on you guys, but I really want you to understand this. For the active thyroid hormone, T3, guess where we need to go and work on supporting? The liver and the gut. If you can support those two things, the liver and the gut, and we can talk about ways to cleanse the liver and ways to cleanse the gut, then you can actually help to change how that hormone response happens, and in turn reverse a lot of the symptoms, especially if we haven't gotten to a disease state. So we're going to talk about this as basically low T3 has more to do with the liver and the gut than it does a particular hormonal issue. So a lot of times we're treating the symptom when we're taking medication, but we're not going to the root of the problem. And you guys know I love to figure out the root. All right. So I want to also talk next week about how parasites, a specific parasite, can really wreak havoc on hypo, with an O, thyroidism. And if you can get rid of that parasite, I mean, a lot of people think, oh my gosh, I don't have a parasite. Guess what? Most of the population has a parasite. So it's about using foods and things naturally, and we'll talk about one of the ways to get rid of parasites naturally as well. I want you guys to realize that a lot of these things are all connected. You guys know I'm all about gut health, and the reason why I'm all about the gut health brain connection is because it's really real. And when we ignore it and we do not take consideration for it and understand how to eat and live and do those things, we set ourselves up for a lot of disease and things that we don't need to. All right. So let me know if I can help you in any way. You guys know I do Gut Check 21 every month. You are free to join in with us at any particular time. It is a paid program, but you get an opportunity to work with me for life one time, and you get all kinds of recipes and information, understanding how to clean up your gut. And so I think that it's a pretty cool program. You can also get the book, Share the Joy, which allows you to go out there and understand some of those things and concepts. So you guys, please share this video out to other people. I mean, it's a basis right now of the thyroid and what it does and its function and some of the things it can cause, but we're going to dig in a little bit deeper. I'm going to bring my friend Chris, who's an expert on thyroid and hormone health. And we're going to kind of have a good conversation here in a week or two with you guys. But remember, T3 is really what the issue is with that T4, which is inactive. And we have to heal the liver and the gut. You need to know how to do that. Ask me some questions, set up an appointment. I'm here for you. All right. Peace and blessings. Love you guys. Share it out.